Self-storage is big business and helps create space in our overcrowded homes.
Oh, gosh.
Bring back some memories.
Yes.
But some have taken their storage hoarding too far.
It's not all mine, they're one or two else's.
Hanging on to things they never see or use.
It's time to save now.
And it's costing them a fortune.
It's over £2,000 a year.
I need help. I'm in a desperate state.
I'm Aggie Mackenzie and I'm an expert in clearing junk and people's excess baggage.
You're paying to store storage.
I'll be asking hoarders to unlock the doors of their units,
It's just crazy.
empty out their stash,
You know it makes sense. I can't.
and choose to either keep it,
Keep to sell? No.
skip it, or sell it.
I despair.
Our antiques expert will then pull out any hidden gems
Anything between 15 and 20,000.
to take to auction
100 I have.
and make some hard cash.
280 then.
In today's show, our storage hoarders say hello to a mountain of memories.
Well, it's incredible.
But do they have what it takes to say farewell to their past for good?
My gran used to turn it.
Do you have to keep that?
Yeah.
And have they been hiding priceless pieces
The hoarding. We're going to deal with it.
to put pounds in their pockets at auction? Welcome to Storage Hoarders.
Hello and welcome to Storage Hoarders. I'm in Bridgend to help two ladies sort their riches from their rubbish. It's time to get tough, clean up and clear out as I ask them to keep it, skip it or sell it.
Our first hoarder in need of my help is teacher Georgina. Unlike most of our secret squirrels, Georgina inherited her unit. Over the past 4 years, it's clocked up over £2,500. And boyfriend David's once shot of the clutter and the expense. So how did she become responsible for storage?
Mum's move to the USA was a complete shock. She rang me on a Tuesday to say her flight was on a Friday and that she'd taken everything she required because she was starting afresh. She put everything into a lockup and left it to me, so I have many items that I've inherited.
Georgina and David live in Porthcawl in Bridgend. With her mum quickly moving to Florida for a better life in the sun, she continued to pay for the unit for the first year, but for a further 3 years, Georgina's paid the monthly storage fee.
So I kind of thought it was a bit of a burden that her mum had left her when she moved to the States.
You sort of wonder, why am I paying for a storage unit to house all of these items which I haven't chosen?
Even in Georgina's current flat, her mum's discarded things are getting in the way. From coat hangers to unwanted shoes, it sees that Georgina has inherited a hindrance instead of an heirloom.
Some wrapping paper, I don't think we're going to need that. And quite a few vinyls, which I don't have a vinyl player, so it's not going to be that useful to me. At first I thought it was great because there was larger household items that were new, such as a dishwasher, and I had a dressing table and a dining table, which sounded perfect, but I'm yet to find that I have the same taste as these items. It's not my time.
Georgina and David are desperately saving all the cash they can to buy their first home together. But with precious pennies going down the drain, David's getting tough with the tat.
I want to start afresh, I want to start brand new, start my life with her. So I think it would be nice if we got items that were ours instead of past generation.
Paying for the storage unit does make it come to the forefront of my mind.
They finally realised that if they want to afford their own place, the unit has got to go.
For what I've paid, I could have gone on a luxury round-the-world cruise, which I would have preferred.
Can I help Georgina discard her money worries as she takes a possible sentimental trip down memory lane?
First of all, I've got to ask you, who's been paying for the storage over the years?
My mum paid for the first year,
OK.
and then I've been paying since.
So, David, what do you think about all this storage business?
Well, when Georgie told me about it, I wasn't particularly happy, seeing the majority of the stuff in there isn't hers, and she's been made to pay for it.
Ooh, very defensive.
Yeah, I just thought it's a lot of money to pay for items that aren't really yours.
And have you seen any of this stuff?
Yeah, I've seen obviously the large pieces of furniture, and we've given some things to charity. but there's half of the storage unit I haven't seen.
Do you know in your head what items you want to keep and what you want to get rid of?
I know there's some items that are crystal and little ornaments that I want to keep.
You want to keep the... Sorry, I shouldn't have showed. You want to keep crystal and ornaments.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I think it's just because I've seen them since I was little and they've always been in the family.
Well, let them have them if you don't like them. Because we're going to get shot of this place today, aren't we?
Hopefully.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Let's go.
I want to help Georgina be free of this storage burden which she's had for far too long. Next up is retired secretary Susan Godding. She intended to store her possessions for a maximum of 6 months. 2 years and £5,500 later, this self-confessed hoarder is in need of some real streamlining support. So why did she resort to storage in the first place?
I had a disastrous year. I had flood damage in the spare bedroom, which leaked down. And I decided at the same time as renovating that, I would have the house renovated. And to assist that, I had the furniture all put into storage.
Susan lives in beautiful Llanelly, Carmarthenshire, but for the past 2 years her building site home has been less than picturesque. In addition to the cost of all the renovations, having her things in storage has become a real strain.
It was very difficult to put make sense of my life at the time. It was only due to my friends that I was able to survive. It is now in the final stages. Theoretically, the stuff will all be back out of storage, and I've got to find somewhere to put it.
Given the terrible circumstances, you'd think that most people would use this opportunity to declutter their home, but not our Susan.
I'm a hoarder, and this very definitely needs sorting out. I am aware that I hoard. I collect basically anything I can do.
What belongings she couldn't fit into her garage, she had to put into 3 storage units.
This looks like a lot of clutter, and it is. I can probably chuck away about 1/3 of it realistically.
While her house is being done up, Susan has been staying with her friend Maggie, who prefers to live a more minimalist life.
She's a hoarder. She collects, she dumps, she never puts anything away. I think it's fair to say that perhaps until she came to move in with me, a vacuum cleaner was an alien object.
Maggie thinks it's crazy that Susan's paying more than £200 a month to store stuff she doesn't need and should use the newly renovated house as a fresh start.
I would hope it has been a wake-up call, seriously. If not, then Susan will be back to where she was 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Can I encourage Susan to downsize her storage so she can move back into a new clutter-free home?
Susan, do you know how much money you spent altogether on storage here?
Well, I had spent about £5,500. Yes, it's quite a lot.
Yes. So when you first put your stuff into storage, how long did you think you were putting it in for?
About 3 months.
So you've had massive costs here where you didn't realise you
No,
would
I didn't
have
expect them. No.
Have you been using savings
I
to
have
cover
been
it?
using savings. I've been using capital to cover it.
Has that been a worry for you?
To put it politely, yes.
Everything that you have in storage, do you need all that stuff?
No.
All the you don't?
No.
Okay. So are you thinking today that you'd like to get everything out and get rid of a whole lot of stuff? Is that
I would
the idea?
love to get rid of some stuff.
You would?
Yes.
Now, your friend Maggie's not here to help you today. She's ill, unfortunately. But she has had a word with me on the phone, and she said to me that you're very plausible and that I have to be very, very, very strict with you.
Yes. I take my time over making decisions, yes.
Well, you're going to have to decide quite quickly today because, you know, time is of the essence, and I think it's a great opportunity for you. You know, we're not going to clear everything today, but if we can at least downsize and cut your costs, that would be a good solution.
It certainly would.
Yes. Let's do it.
We've met our hoarders in desperate need of some Aggie intervention. It's now time to see what's waiting for me in those units. Coming up, David gets assertive with Georgina's inherited clutter.
You've got hanging the law in the house.
I know.
Oh, God.
And Susan refuses to let go of her years of hoarding.
Susan, we're going to deal with this head on. The hoarding.
Welcome back to Storage Hoarders. I'm helping two hoarders currently spending money storing items they don't really need. Earlier, we met Georgina. Her mum emigrated to Florida and lumbered her with a fully loaded storage unit, which is costing Georgina thousands. And this is Susan, a serious serial hoarder. Her home was flooded, and while the damage is repaired, she's moved a lifetime's worth of collecting all into storage. Later, our antiques expert Paul Hayes will have a rummage through their possessions and select a few choice items to sell at auction. First to confront her storage inconvenience is Georgina, who has shelled out a tidy sum to keep her mum's leftover loot under lock and key.
It's like Aladdin's cave. Ooh.
Georgina has been burdened by a mountain of her mum's memories from her life in the UK, but she soon clocks an item from her childhood.
My gran used to turn it once a week. She knew how it worked. I have no idea.
Georgina might be reminiscing, but boyfriend David wants rid of her mum's costly clutter.
What, you've got hangers galore in the house.
I know.
Oh, God, let me take this out.
I agree with David. Some of these items have to go.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah.
Look, we've got a muffin tin. Lots of kitchen stuff. You don't need any more kitchen stuff.
No.
Don't need any more.
Don't
Right.
need any more mugs, any more
I've
toasters.
got loads of mugs.
Do you think this would be good for a charity shop?
Yeah.
Stuff? Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you like these chairs?
Yeah, they're okay. I just don't think there's any place for them.
The chairs go with the table, which goes with the Welsh dresser.
Right.
So if we're not keeping the Welsh dresser,
No.
there's no point in keeping the...
I'm
Table
liking
and
your attitude. I really am. It's great. Now, what about this clock here? Should we take the clock out? This looks like an old clock.
Ever since I was little, my grandparents had it.
OK, so it's in your grandparents' house.
Yeah, it used to be on the bureau in the study.
It's not my taste, but I mean, there's something quite
I think
majestic
the
about that
face
clock.
needs a clean. It looks like a...
So would you be happy to let that go?
Yeah, that could be a possibility.
I can tell you where I'd be putting this if it was left to me. Let's get cracking. We've got to get everything out of here.
OK,
and
let's
all
go then.
sorted.
Georgina's been hanging on to her mum's hoard for far too long. She now has to decide which items she really wants to hang on to and which to give the heave-ho. Now it's time for Susan to unlock, open up, and be reunited with a hoard of household belongings she squirreled away into storage.
Oh, golly. Well, it's incredible. There are lots of things here I've forgotten all about.
Serial hoarder Susan has stashed away her life's laundry. Boxes of mementos, old furniture, knicks and knacks, and the occasional lampshade.
I don't know what to do with things, so...
Look at all this stuff. I think Susan's paying to store things she really doesn't need.
Golly, lots of furniture in here, isn't
Yes,
there?
there's an awful lot of furniture in here.
Is this like a towel rail? Or...
Yeah, that's a new towel
A
rail.
new towel rail.
This is an old one.
I see.
My stepdaughter wants one of those,
So we know you're getting rid of one already of these, don't
Yes.
we? Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Right, let's have a look.
Oh, this was just detritus from the
Yeah,
bedroom.
you said it. Detritus. You know what? You've got an awful lot of stuff, haven't you?
have.
And you've got lots of little bits and pieces.
Yeah,
And
lots of... Yeah.
I'm slightly concerned about how long it's going to take for us to go through all this lot.
Longer than I would like.
Right. We're going to have to work very closely together today, aren't we?
Yes, please.
To help our hoarders clear their units, I want them to sort their possessions into 3 categories. Skip it for all those unwanted bits and bobs, keep it for the items they really can't live without, and sell it for the things that could bring in the bucks. I've also included a charity box for those items too good to bin.
Ooh. Now, that's Bunnykins, an old Bunnykins pottery.
our storage hoarders need to get tough with their stuff. They've got just 3 hours to get their heaps out of hiding.
I think these are tequila glasses.
Oh, it's my father's African collection here.
With so much stuff to sort through, I've arranged a little extra help. Georgina and David's pile looks like a manageable mountain of her mum's old possessions. However, Susan's massive spread of stuff represents a lifetime's worth of belongings. And now she's reunited with her items, she's having difficulty parting with any of them.
12th of May 1937, coronation. I think they're going to have to be kept. Right, that's to keep.
Meanwhile, Georgina's getting ruthless with her surplus goods.
This is just junk. Just chuck it in the bin.
She's shoveling her mum's stuff out of storage onto the skip and sell piles, including old ornaments, glassware and furniture.
Skip.
But there's one beloved item Georgina can't bear to part with.
Oh gosh, there's so much. There's a lot more than I thought there would be.
Yeah, so now we're unpacking, we're finding things we haven't seen before.
Yes. Things that you've never seen before.
No, things that maybe I haven't seen for a long time.
So do you know about this little creature here?
I think this is a bear that my mum and dad got when they lived in Germany. And my dad used to be quite fond of it. And as I really love bears, my dad always said I should keep it.
So what were your parents doing in Germany?
My dad was working in the RAF and my mum was in the MOD.
Oh.
And so they were based in Germany for just over 5 years.
Do you think it might be worth something?
I don't know. I don't know how much it was even purchased for, so...
Fingers crossed, this could be the answer to all your storage costs. You never know, do you?
We'll see.
This porcelain bear has given me pause for thought. Bears are big collector's items, and whether made of ceramic or good old-fashioned fur, the right bear can fetch thousands. So I've sent Georgina and her cherished bear to meet Peter David, a specialist in restoring ceramics, to find out more.
Right, this is a Berlin bear. The mark, blue scepter mark on the bottom, is a Berlin mark.
Right.
Berlin was a factory that started in around 1740.
So how old do you think it might be, Pete?
I'd have expected it to be about the 60s, but looking at it, you know, it might be a bit earlier.
How best would I clean the bear if I was wanting to put him on show?
The best way to clean any porcelain is to use the mildest detergent that you can. An orange stick and a little bit of cotton wool. A little bit of spit works because of the enzymes. And it's amazing how much dirt that will get out without... What you don't want to do is immerse it. He's actually got a hole there and he'll take water in and it'll take weeks to get that out.
Right.
White porcelain is difficult to produce and very expensive, but if you've got the right piece in good condition, arctophiles, that's bear collectors, will cough up the cash. So has Georgina hit the big time with her Berlin bear?
Value-wise, I'm afraid he isn't going to pay for a holiday for you anywhere.
That's okay.
Probably looking around about the £50, £60 mark, so something like that. He's not damaged, which is good.
Thank you, Pete, for your time today.
It's okay.
I've really enjoyed meeting with Pete today. I've learnt a lot about the origin of the bear. It's going to stay in the family.
I'm pleased this bear's going home with Georgina and not back in that storage unit. Meanwhile, back at Storage HQ in Bridgend, Susan is sifting through the contents of her house, and it's bringing back lots of memories.
To see everything again is just weird, and realising what I kept. Yes, well, that's a card case.
Years of hoarding have left Susan struggling to let go. She's even hanging on to broken crockery, old coat hangers and homemade caftans.
I really love that. And it's so practical in summer, it's so cool.
All right,
I have
Susan,
really
all right,
been missing
all right,
that.
All right, there you are. You can keep it. Because you've got an answer for everything, haven't you? Now, what's this?
that can go. Yeah.
They're teacups, are they?
Yes, that's a teacup.
Do you use them?
No, but they are going to be kept. These are going to family. So I'm
really interested.
Seriously,
really
I'm
interested.
only the custodian for that. Excuse me, may I just put that down there? Hot water jug.
I don't think there's any value in that.
Do you have to keep that?
Yeah.
Right.
But I've nothing else to put the hot water in for coffee and things.
Would it not just come out of the kettle?
Probably could. Oh.
Now, hold on, don't change the subject, Susan. Susan, we're going to deal with this head-on. The hoarding. We're going to deal with it. I want you to have a completely healthy attitude towards this.
I need to offer it to the family because they may have more of a use for it. They may say, give it to charity. I really don't know.
You don't feel that because it's in your possession that you have the right to decide what happens with it?
Not necessarily, no. No, because it came from the family.
I'm not sure. I wonder if Susan's looking for an excuse to hang on to her things. I'm not giving up yet, though, and I hope with some gentle persuasion I can get her to sell a few items. And I've spotted just the thing.
Ah, Eureka.
Oh my God, that's so pretty. That is so gorgeous. Can you remember where they came from?
As with everything, they've come down the family.
Right.
I really don't know whether it was my mother's family or my father's family.
Okay. But you're happy to sell these?
Yes.
Bravo! Susan has agreed to sell a few of her possessions. However, she's clinging on to the majority for her newly renovated home. It's a very different story for Georgina and her hoard. She's managed to part with most of her mum's stuff.
How's it feeling going through all this stuff?
It is quite liberating, the fact we're going to get rid of so much rubbish, which to me is rubbish.
Does it feel like rubbish?
To me, yeah.
So what are you thinking now about all of this?
Well, I'm thinking next time she Skypes, it'll be, thanks for leaving me the shredding.
I think I'd be furious if my mother had left me all this work behind, because that's what it is. It's a blinking chore. And it's taking up a lot of your time. You've had to take time off work, the pair of you, to sort out a load of stuff that's not even yours, you don't want necessarily, and you're having to deal with it, and you've paid a fortune to store it.
Well, it's pretty lucky that she lives in a nice destination and gives us a free holiday twice a year, otherwise I wouldn't be too happy.
OK, so she's forgiven.
She's forgiven.
You have to say she's forgiven as well,
Yes,
don't you? Because
yes,
you just
she's
have
forgiven.
to... You can't fall out with the mother-in-law, can you?
No.
So our storage hoarders have sorted their keep, skip and sell piles. Next up, we'll find out if our expert Paul Hayes thinks there's any value in their sell items. Coming up, our hoarders discover the true value of their treasures.
This is probably the best item you have, a very collectible item.
And we see how Georgina's mum's stash performs under the hammer.
120 I bid. 30 now. Well, well.
Welcome back to Storage Hoarders. I'm in Bridgend, where I've been helping Georgina and her boyfriend David and serial hoarder Susan take stock of their storage and decide which of their belongings to keep, skip or sell. Antiques expert Paul Hayes is about to cast his eye over the contents of Georgina's unit, which she's been burdened with since her mum moved to Florida. Will he find some treasures amongst the sell items?
So, Paul, what have you seen amongst Georgina and David's collection that might be worth talking about?
Well, I suppose I better start with the clock. This is probably the best item you have. It's a German clock. This dates about 1880, 1900. It's a type of bracket clock. The idea was it wouldn't go on a mantelpiece, it's far too big. It sits in a little bracket. But very collectible item. Right. And a very important part of any clock is the pendulum. And you have that. It's amazing how many of those go missing. So what you've got is a good Victorian German clock in nice condition. Value-wise, 150, on a good day, 250, that sort of price. But how does that sound?
Right. Yeah, it's a positive surprise to me.
And of course, you've got these horses as well. Was somebody into horses or just
my mum used to be a keen rider. So
right. Okay.
There were lots of different horses.
Well, these are very decorative. These would have gone on a mantelpiece in the old Victorian houses, very dark interiors. This is called spelter. And spelter is like a cheaper version of bronze. It's actually zinc. And what would happen would that the artist would make this item from bronze, which would recast and very, very expensive. Then they'd use the cheaper material called spelter from the same casting. So it's almost as identical to the bronze, but hasn't quite got that finesse and it's not quite as heavy. And the nice thing is you have a pair. It's always good to have a pair. So value-wise, sort of £30 to £60 for those two. Does that sound all right to you?
Yeah, I mean, I've never really liked them, so I'm more than happy if somebody wants to take those off my hands.
Good news! Looks like Georgina has inherited more than just junk when she took on her mum's storage unit. And there's one item that's a cut above the rest.
And then, of course, we've got one item here which is quite lethal, really. Now, were you in the farming game, or what happened here?
My mum, who was into horses, her father was into construction, but built a few farmhouses, so she grew up on a farm and...
Right, OK. Well, it's quite lethal.
Yeah,
and the blade is, you know, it is a big example. And there is a law in England. You're not allowed... If you went to do this at a car boot to sell this, you might get arrested. It's that bad.
Really?
Yeah, because blades have to be less than 2 inches. So this is far bigger than 2 inches. And I think it's a case, really, of offloading this, because it's not something you can sell, really, on an open market. It has to be dealt with properly. Yeah. All right. But food for thought, there. You've got some great examples. And then a Welsh dresser. Now then, that's not antique, I mean, but it's a nice one, isn't it?
No, it's not antique.
Well, obviously, the antique ones are what people like, but people love pine. Pine in kitchens are very popular. And you also have a table and chairs as well. I don't want to get rid of, just sort of get rid of them as a lot.
As a set, yeah.
Well, if we said at least 150 to 200, that's the minimum you're going to get for them. And hopefully on a good day, I think you could do all right.
And you've got to recoup some of that money you've spent on the storage, eh?
Yeah.
Every penny counts.
That's it.
Georgina had no idea what her mum left in the unit when she moved to Florida, but Paul has found a few items that could fetch a tidy sum at auction. There's a pine dresser and matching table and chairs valued at £150 to £200. The German bracket clock estimated at £150 to £200. And the pair of Spelter horses valued at £30 to £60. But what about Grandpa's scythe? It can't go to auction, so Georgina has decided she wants to find a good home for it. So Paul's arranged a visit to the Garrett Heritage Centre in Swansea.
And Georgina's brought along some sort of strange... what exactly has she got here? What is this thing?
Well, this is a scythe. It looks like it's a mid-19th century model. It's a nice long blade on it, so it's been used for reaping and grass cutting. And they generally would work in teams on farms. A team of scythemen or mowers would arrive and offer to cut all your grass or harvest all your crops for you. One man should be able to cut at least 3 acres of growing crops in a day, but just 1 acre of grass, which is quite a harder task. Right. And a whole team then could literally do a farm in a week.
Farming in the mid-19th century was a tough task. Teams of farmers would spend days cutting their crops, and without modern machinery, the scythe was one of the tools no farmer could do without.
What's replaced it then? What sort of machine do we have?
Mechanisation, of course, came in. Combine harvesters, we call them today. Right. What succeeded this was the reaper and binding machines, originally horse-drawn. And those machines did away with literally thousands of people's jobs. Using these all day, it's unremitting labour, extremely tiring after a day's work. In fact, it's said, I've never counted this, but it takes up to 10,000 strokes to cut an acre, which is 1 day's hard work.
And they would do 3 acres a day?
Yes, they could do up to 3 acres a day.
30,000 strokes. Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, well, obviously, Georgina didn't want to have this sort of lying around. I mean, what's the market for these things? I mean, do people still buy them? Or
yes,
what do they do?
people still collect them and use them for display items. You often see them in pubs, of course, and restaurants, country restaurants, hanging up. Yeah, generally you pick one up in the sales for maybe £30, £40 an average one. Okay. Good condition one a bit more. Okay. And this is in fairly good condition. There's not a lot of woodworm in it, so it could be cleaned up. And you probably could get it to work again if you wanted to. Have you got much of a lawn?
No.
Once cleaned up, Grandpa's scythe could fetch £40 at a specialist sale, but Georgina's decided to donate it to the Heritage Centre.
I'm really thrilled today to be leaving the scythe behind so that those who appreciate sort of farming memorabilia may find it of more use than me having it in the lockup.
At least Georgina won't be paying to keep it in storage anymore. Let's hope she has as much luck offloading the rest of her stuff when it goes to sale. It's auction time, where Georgina's lots are going under the hammer.
Right, there's £20 worth of grass up there.
Georgina's not made any money so far. Let's see if she can claw back some cash from her mum's leftovers here at Tring Market Auctions.
300, madam says. No, sir.
So how does it feel saying goodbye to the last of your hoard?
It feels good. We got rid of the lockup within 2 weeks of doing the day, so now there's very little left except for these items.
That's right, yeah.
So this is the last of it, and Must be quite a nice feeling.
Definitely. Everything's got its place.
Have you got high hopes for any of this?
I really want to get rid of the dining table and dresser, especially now we've got rid of the lockup. There's nowhere for it to go.
Quite. Does that mean that you haven't got a reserve on those pieces?
I have a reserve on the clock, purely because I'm quite fond of the clock, and I want it to go to a good home. So there is a reserve on the clock.
£5.40, £5.50, and £45.50 I bid now.
So will any of Georgina's items be of interest to resident auctioneer Stephen Hearn?
Georgina's entry is interesting. It's covering 100 years of antique history. She has got the Westminster chiming clock with a German movement in it. That's going to probably sell quite well. She's then also got something of the 1990s, where she's got the modern pine dresser, the table and the chairs. Someone's going to have that.
But what about the unusual horse warrior figurines?
They're not going to fly out because they're spelter. They are the poor man's decorative item. She's going to be struggling to get much over £100 for them.
Tell me, any money that you might make today, what you're going to use it for?
We'll just use it for our funds. We're moving on, really.
Yeah, we would have to, yeah.
Have you got a figure in your head of what you'd like to come away with today? You have? You're smiling.
Oh, gosh, I wouldn't have a clue, if I'm honest.
Really?
No, I don't know. I hope the clock does well, though, for Georgie's sake. I hope it does.
Yes,
so.
yes.
And it does go to a good home, yeah.
Yes. Right, well, auction's about to begin.
OK.
All the best.
Thank you.
Fingers crossed.
There we are, we ought to be around £300.
With the auction about to get underway, I hope Georgina can make some money from her mum's old belongings. First up is the pine dresser, table and chairs.
There's a pine dresser, you've got a dining table and you've got 4 chairs. What about a couple of £100 for them? £100 for them? Yes. And 10 for them? 120, 130, 40, 50, 60, 70.
OK.
There we go.
80, 90. Okay. 109, 200 I'm bid. 210 I have.
Good God.
220?
Good God.
Yes, 220. 230. You only bought the dresser. 240.
Oh, this is
50.
amazing.
And no, £250 and I shall sell them. They're going down there for 200.
£250?
Yeah, that's really good.
Brilliant.
£250 were a great start, and not bad for some pine furniture that was stuck at the back of a storage unit. It looks like furniture is popular at this sale. Let's see if Georgina has as much luck with her 1930s chest of drawers, estimated at £10 to £20.
Madam, useful little thing for you. No? Sir's got it then, I shall sell it for £25. Thank you very much.
Good. Georgina's items are fetching above their estimates. Let's hope she'll be riding high with the spelter horses valued at £30 to £60.
100 I'm bid. And 10 is it? 100 I'm bid 10. 120 I'm bid. 30 now. Well. 120 then, down at £120. Thank you.
£120, that's 2 horses sold for twice the estimate. Georgina still has one last item in the auction, her grandma's bracket clock. It's close to Georgina's heart, so bidders will have to pay £180 to reach her reserve.
OK, ready for this?
What about a couple of hundred for it? Good old clock, that one. 100 for it. 80, 90, 100. 10 for you, sir. 120 we've got. 30. One more. 140 I'm bid. 2 of you want it. 50 I'm bid now. 60, 70, 80. 80's got it. 180.
Oh,
you 2 are out. It's going down to Sir then. Sir's got the clock at £180.
Sold for £180. Georgina was very attached to that clock, so I want to make sure she's completely happy now it's gone.
What about your granny's clock? How are you feeling about that actually going?
Well, it was fate. We put a reserve on it and the reserve was met. So hopefully it'll go to a good home.
Georgina has sold 3 out of the 4 items brought to auction. Unfortunately, the spelter horse sale didn't materialise, so after commission, she's made £404. Add to this a £625 yearly storage saving, and Georgina and David can put £1,029 towards their future.
When do you think you might have got round to this if it hadn't been for us coming along?
Honestly, I don't think we would have got rid of the items at this point. I think we would have slowly been going down to the lockup and maybe lost patience along the way.
So glad to be shut?
Glad to have got rid of the storage unit, yes.
So after 4 years and over £2,000, Georgina has freed the burden of her mum's storage unit. Coming up, Susan discovers she's been hiding away some real treasures.
They were the first factory in the whole of Europe to come up with true porcelain. They used to call it white gold.
But do the bidders agree when her prized possessions go under the hammer?
£45, not enough, I'm afraid.
He hasn't sold it.
Sorry, that's not sold.
Not sold.
Welcome back to Storage Hoarders, where Susan and Georgina and David are clearing out their clutter and downsizing their units.
Well, it's incredible.
Earlier, Georgina discovered the history of her family heirloom before making £404 at auction. Add to that the saving of an empty storage unit, and she's quids in to the tune of approximately £1,029.
Just got the clock at £180. Thank you.
It's now time to catch up with colossal hoarder Susan.
Oh, it's my father's African collection here.
Who put a lifelong stash of belongings into storage after a burst water tank ruined her home. Squirreler Susan's found it hard to let go of anything.
Coronation. I think they're going to have to be kept.
But I've called in antiques expert Paul Hayes to help spot any hidden treasures amongst the few items she's willing to sell.
Now, Paul, I haven't had the easiest time with this lady here, Susan, but is there anything here that you've seen of Susan's that's of interest?
Now tell me, I've just spotted on here, so tell me where this has come from.
Well, it's a card case.
Yeah, that's right. It's a calling card case.
Yes.
You would announce yourself. You'd go along to somebody's house, you'd have your calling cards here, you would give your card to the butler, and of course you would produce it from something like this. So in here would be a handwritten card to announce your arrival.
Is that tortoiseshell?
This is tortoiseshell and this is mother of pearl. So that one, you're looking £80 to £130, that sort of price. You haven't got another one in there, have you?
No, unfortunately.
OK, now we've got some Meissen cup and saucers here.
Yes.
Now, were these collected by yourself? Or?
No, again, it came from my family.
Right. Well, these are 19th century, so they date back maybe 1880, 1900. They had the Meissen cross swords, which is the mark that they put on it, and they were the first factory in the whole of Europe to come up with true porcelain. They used to call it white gold. These would bring 20, 25 a cup and saucer. So you've got 1, 2, 3. Yes. You've got at least £100. It was an auction estimate, 80 to 120 on those.
Yes.
How does that sound?
For the 6, yes.
Is that your cup of tea?
Yeah.
Paul has found some interesting items for Susan to take to auction, including the tortoiseshell card case, along with a 19th century Meissen cup and saucer set. Other items to go under the hammer are a watercolour painting and a set of Venetian glass goblets. But there's another, much larger item that's caught Paul's expert eye.
Well, this is a secretaire bookcase, and the idea is that the bureau part actually comes out on a pulley, revealing this leather interior with all the little drawers and so on. And the colour inside the drawers is the colour that this would have originally been, that very sort of rich red.
Dark.
Yeah. And what's happened over the years with the sunlight, it's faded the front, so this is why you get this sort of not so dark a colour on the front. And you've got a bit of warping around the bottom,
yes, unfortunately. It would need a bit of work done to it, I think. Oh. And roughly how much would it cost to think?
It's a beautiful piece. It dates 1840, 1860, that sort of time. With the restoration needing on there, it's going to be quite expensive to do that. I could see that bringing £400 to £600.
As much as that?
Yeah. Would you... Oh, there we are. Can that go? Do you know something I don't?
Susan's Grand Secretary could be worth a bob or two, and she's keen to find out what it would take to bring it back to its former glory. So Paul's taking her to meet Terence Hawkins, a specialist in antique furniture.
Condition today is very important. This bookcase has a lot of faults, which I'll actually point out to you.
What's the main problem that we've got here, then? Really?
We'll start with the bottom. It has splits in the panel here.
Oh, yes.
Right. Which is actually where the panel is bowing. This one here, again, as you can see, that is badly warped.
Yeah. Yes.
But, the expense starts when you try and replace all these mouldings. All these will have to be handmade.
Right.
The doors themselves will have to be taken off and replaned so they actually shut correctly.
But you say it would be worth repairing?
The whole bookcase, looking at the bookcase, I would say you're talking of £200 to £250 to restore the bookcase.
Right. Do you think it is something that is in demand now, or is it something maybe to leave for a future generation? Or...
Yeah, I think if you had that restored, it'd be beautiful. You could pass it on to your grandchildren. At the moment, the value is £400 to £600, and there's only one way it's going to go, and that's up in value. It will not go down any further.
There we go.
That's brilliant. Thank you. It's been in the family, my family that I know of, for nearly 70 years, and I'm going to seriously consider if it's a possibility of leaving it here to be restored, and then having the beautifully restored product in my house.
Susan's secretary deserves some TLC, and I'm pleased it's no longer going to be hidden away in storage. We've come to Chiswick, where Susan's other items will be up for grabs to the highest bidder. Friend Maggie is here to hold her hand as she releases her grip on some of her prized possessions.
So, Maggie, I'm glad you're here today. It's lovely to meet you. I could have done with you that day at the storage unit. Such hard work.
Tell me about it.
You did warn me, and you were right. It was almost
sorry.
mission impossible that day, it really was. But I'm glad to say that we managed to prize a few things out of Susan to bring to auction today. You're happy about those things that you've taken?
Yes, I am. Obviously sad to see them go, but I made the decision to let them go, so they're going.
And you're not changing your mind?
No, not on these.
Good, good.
It's taken a lot for Susan to get her stuff out of storage and into the sale. But what will today's auctioneer, William Rouse, make of her items?
Susan has got 4 lots on the sale. I think the Meissen is particularly interesting. You know, there's always a collectible market for Meissen, and these are quite decorative as well. You know, Meissen is a very high-quality porcelain manufacturer in Germany, so there'll certainly be people who will be interested in buying that.
With the auction about to get going, antiques expert Tom Keane is lending Susan some support as she sees her first lot go under the hammer, the tortoiseshell and mother-of-pearl card case.
There we go. Again, nice little thing there. Collectible object, £40 to start me. Bid 40, 45, 50, 55, £55 it is. 60 I'll take at £55.
55 for it so far.
60
there.
£60 there. 62.
62.
You want 65, 62. 65, £65 I'm bid in the doorway now at 65.
You're struggling to get there, but
They're
it's
all
getting
coming
there,
out of the woodwork. At £65, all done, 65.
There we are.
£65, what a great start. Will the watercolours stir up as much interest, estimated at £60 to £100?
40 I'm bid, 42, 45. 45 is all I'm bid at 45. Need a little bit more at £45 with me then. Anybody want to come in with me then? £45, not enough, I'm afraid.
He hasn't sold it.
Sorry, that's not sold.
Not sold.
So it's not a pretty picture as the paintings fail to sell. Perhaps Susan will have more luck with the Venetian goblets.
22, 25, 28. £28 in front of me, 28. Anybody else? At £28 I'm going to sell the lot. It goes then £28.
£28, he sold them.
Not quite what Susan was hoping for, but she still has 1 lot left in the sale, and William the auctioneer thinks it's a good one, the Meissen cup and saucer set.
20th century Meissen porcelain demi-tasse and saucers with some other coffee cans and saucers. This is a good little lot, and I'm pleased to say that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 left bids on the lot, and I can start anyway straight in at £90. £90 with me.
I'm making bids in the room now.
100, 110, 120,
there's bidding.
130, 140, 150, 155. Do you want 160? 160 in the room.
160 so
Against the book at £160. 160 in the room. Anybody else want to come in now? 160 on to my left then at 160.
Boss has sold.
Well done, Susan. That's all right. That's 2 bottles of brandy.
So it's no longer time for tea, but Susan can have her cake and eat it. £160. What a result.
So what do you reckon to that, then?
I'm very surprised.
Tell me about it.
I mean, you could have knocked me over with a feather when those coffee cups went up like that.
Really?
Ding dong. Oh, that was thrilling. I'm really very happy with that.
It didn't make you think, oh my goodness, what am I doing letting them go?
No, I don't think it did. It's funny that, because...
It is funny knowing how you are.
Yeah, thank you. I thought that as well, Aggie.
Susan was reluctant to declutter her items, but she sold 3 of her 4 lots, netting her £232.76 after commission. Plus, if she does empty her storage units, she could be making a yearly storage saving of around £2,700. I hope I've started her on the right road to downsizing.
So, Susan, do you think this has given you maybe a little bit of a taste for getting other things out there?
Yes, I think it might. It seems a realistic way of getting rid of some items. So,
do you think it's been beneficial for you?
Maggie will give you the long-term answer to that one. Whether it's managed to make me more efficient in my ideas and not such a hoarder, yes. I'm hoping that it has.
I'm relying on you, Maggie.
You can rely on me. Whether or not I can get this cracked into action is going to be another thing, because Susan's very good at talking, not very good at doing.
I know
but she's still a good friend.
Susan still has 3 units full of her possessions, but with her home renovations nearly complete and a new approach to hoarding, her life will soon be clutter-free.
Well, that's a brilliant start for Georgina and Susan on their decluttering, and they have some cash to show for it. Join me, Aggie Mackenzie, next time on Storage Hoarders.
Click on screen for more videos of extraordinary humans.